So how much muscle can you gain naturally per year? Not as much as you think. In this video, I'm going to teach you how much muscle you can add per year naturally. Okay, so let's say you're a guy who has never lifted any weights, okay? You're a newbie and you've never lifted weights, you've never worked out. This is your first year working out. How much muscle can you put? Somewhere around 4 and 10 pounds. If you've got amazing genetics, then you can gain around 10 pounds of muscle in your first year of training. And that is if you have amazing genetics and you work hard, you're consistent, and you do everything right. If you do everything right, then you can expect to gain 10 pounds of muscle in your first year of training. But if you've got bad genetics, you're only going to gain around somewhere, I don't know, maybe like 4 pounds of something. And that's just biology, man. I can't really help you with that. Even if you do everything right, you're not going to build the same amount of muscle as compared to the guy with amazing genetics. No matter what you do, no matter how hard you train, you're not going to be able to gain the same amount of muscle as the guy with amazing genetics. So if you've got amazing genetics, 10 pounds. If you've got bad genetics, 4 pounds. But Wes doesn't know what he's talking about. I gained 20 pounds of muscle in my first year of training. No, you didn't. You did not gain 20 pounds of muscle in your first year of training. Listen, guys, you don't really turn from this skinny little guy to this really buff dude in just 1 year. Just because you gained 20 pounds of weight doesn't mean that you gained 20 pounds of muscle. Here's what probably happened. You went on YouTube, you watched a couple of motivational videos, and one of those videos said you gotta eat big to get big. You can't train like a horse and then eat like a pigeon and all that kind of crap. And you started eating a lot of food and you got fat. So you gained all this weight. In your mind, you think that you build muscle, but you cannot possibly build 20 pounds of muscle in a year. It's not possible. Unless you're 7 feet tall and your dad is like Superman or something, you're not going to gain more than 10 pounds of muscle in your first year of training. I'm talking about 10 pounds if you've got amazing genetics, if you train the proper way, which you won't. But let's say you do. If you train properly, if your nutrition is on point, you're consistent with your workouts, then you might gain 10 pounds of muscle, but most probably you're not. Expect to see 4 to 10 pounds of muscle in your first year of training. But what if you're a woman? If you're a woman, you're going to gain half of the muscle that the men have. I'm sorry, this is just biology. Women are naturally smaller than men, so you will in fact gain a little less muscle than the guys. I hope I didn't offend any feminists out there. Oh, what the hell, maybe I did, I don't care. Women are going to gain half of the muscle that the guys are making. So let's say you're a girl with great genetics, you can expect around 5 pounds of muscle in your first year. If you're a girl with bad genetics, you can expect somewhere between 2, maybe 3 pounds of muscle, but this is good progress. Year number 2. What happens in the second year of training? You gain a little bit less muscle than the first year. So let's say we take our amazing genetics guy who gained 10 pounds in the first year. Now he's going to gain somewhere, I don't know, maybe about 8 pounds or something. Because here's the thing. Everyone's got this genetic limit. And the more you work out, the closer you get to this genetic limit. And the higher you come to this limit, it gets more and more difficult to put on muscle. So the first year, if you're putting on 10 pounds, the second year you might just put 8 pounds. The third year you might just put 6 pounds. You see where I'm going with this? So there's a gradual decrease in the amount of muscle you can put on every year. So the closer you get to your genetic limit, it gets harder and harder to build muscle. What about the third year? In the third year, you can expect even less muscle growth. So again, guy with amazing genetics, maybe 5 pounds. The guy with bad genetics, somewhere around 2 pounds. And then after this, you sort of remain in this range of 2 to 4 pounds of muscle a year until you hit your genetic limit. So for the rest of your life, every year you're only going to get around 2 to 4 pounds of muscle. Obviously, depending on genetics, the skinny guy is going to gain somewhere around 2 pounds of muscle a year, and that is if he does everything correctly. And the guy with good genetics, he might just gain 4 pounds, again, given that he's doing everything right. So the purpose of this video was just to give you guys an idea of how much muscle you can actually gain while you're working out. Because so many guys, they start going to the gym, they start working out, and they don't see that much progress. But that's the reality of this game. You can't build muscle that fast. If that were possible, then everyone around us will be walking around like Arnold Schwarzenegger or something. It takes a lot of time, literally decades, to build a great physique. It takes a lot of time. I cannot stress this enough. It takes a lot of time. But see, here's the thing. When you're working out for 10, 20 years, when you get advanced and then you look back and you'll be like, oh shit, I used to be that skinny. But now, after 20 years of hard work, after adding little by little by little, you will have gained a lot of muscle mass. And that's how this game works. It's a long and slow process. You work out hard, you be consistent, and you do it for decades, and that's how you build muscle. So to sum it all up, the first year, the guy with the great genetics, he can add up to 10 pounds of muscle. The guy with bad genetics, somewhere around 4. In the second year, it could be anywhere between 8 pounds for the genetically gifted guy and only 3 pounds for our bad genetics guy. And this is how the graph goes lower and lower as you progress. But what about the genetic limit? You don't just hit the genetic limit in 5 years. No. I told you, it will take decades to come up here. So don't worry about hitting your genetic limit. It will take time. And maybe after like 1 to 2 decades of training hard, you might just hit your genetic limit. So don't worry about the genetic limit. You're fine. Train hard. Be consistent. Just a final word for the skinny guys out there. Look, man, I know it's unfair. You're putting the same amount of muscle, and then some jackass, probably like me, he's not putting that much work, but he is gaining a lot of muscle just because he's got good genetics. But that's just life. You're not going to get everything in your life. Some people are rich, some are poor, some are tall, some are short. I also happen to be tall, but I don't know, I'm just bragging for some reason. But you got to use what you have. Okay? Just because you've got bad genetics, that does not mean that you're going to look bad. That does not mean that you cannot build muscle. You absolutely can. You can, but it will take time. So hear me out. Okay, you start working out, okay, you're very skinny, you start working out, you gain 4 pounds of muscle in the first year. In the second year, let's say you gain 3 pounds of muscle, okay, so now you've gained 7 pounds. And then for 8 continuous years, you gain 2 pounds every year. If you calculate all of this, what's it like, I don't know, you gain probably like 23 pounds. 23 pounds in 10 years, that's a lot of muscle. So just because you're skinny, that does not mean that you're always going to stay skinny. You can gain weight, but you have to be consistent. You'll probably not look as big as that other guy, but you will gain a lot of muscle. So this was just some motivation for you skinny guys out there. Don't give up. Just because you've got bad genetics, it does not mean that you cannot build muscle. You absolutely can. I hope you learned something from this. The take-home message is that muscle building is hard, it takes time, be consistent, and you will muscle. Alright, I'll see you soon.